Hello everyone, I'm Captain Shar. I'm mostly a retro gamer over on Twitch, but sometimes I do react to content. This is one of those times. This time reacting to Devious Acts of Revenge by game developers by Larry Bundy Jr. Bundy? Yeah, Larry Bundy Jr. Anyways, link to the original will be down below. Let's hop into it.
With so many people involved in the video game industry, it doesn't take too long to start treading on one another's toes and creating drama. These are usually accusations of stealing concepts, incompetent management, or just being a cretin who lies about everything they make. However, every now and then, some developers get very sneaky and clever with getting back at their nemesis.
Okay.
And some of these can be devious, funny,
A lot of fighting
or
games
just
here.
plain evil. So this episode is dedicated to these counterinsurgent coders, these execrable engineers, and these pernicious programmers. As I say, but
Nazi blood.
hello you. I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. Devious
Nice.
Acts of Revenge by game developers.
Well, I only know a few of them, so let's see how many I know. Don't know about this one.
Making death threats on the internet is quite possibly one of the most boneheaded things you could do in this day and age.
Yeah.
While you might think it makes you look like a badass, it pretty much guarantees you a visit from several large, heavily armed gentlemen. However, the genius for this segment luckily managed to escape the long arm of the law, but was utterly humiliated online instead. So, may I introduce to you Bulkhead Interactive's 2018 World War II FPS Battalion 1944. Despite
I don't know
being
if
a
I've
small
ever seen
dev
this
team
game.
funding the entire game through Kickstarter, Bulkhead decided to self-finance a tournament to help boost sales and build a community for the game, where winners would be awarded cash prizes and even exclusive skins for their weapons. Sounds great! The tournament was held without any hitches, and the champions received their money. However, when it came to the weapon skins, Bulkhead were a little on the slow side rolling out said promised accolades. This simply wasn't good enough for one of the players, who went by the name of Suspect. He didn't appreciate the fact that skins needed to be designed, then implemented into a game. So, in
It's
an
just a classic
entitled huff,
COD.
promptly jumps onto their official Discord server, proceeds to moan about the delay of his awarded gains, and ultimately telling them if they don't hurry up with their promises, that he would shoot up the studio.
Oh boy. That's not gonna go over well.
Even adding reference to the then recent YouTube HQ incident for that extra scummy impact. Now,
Oh
if
boy.
you're going to make a complete tit of yourself online, it's pretty much guaranteed that someone will screen grab your idiocy, as the internet never forgets.
This is true.
So, Suspect's threats are immediately posted for the world to see on Twitter. Bulkhead spots these posts, and rather than report Suspect to the police, decide to troll the guy instead. "We're ever so sorry, Mr. Suspect," said Bulkhead. "Please don't mercilessly slaughter the staff of our tiny development team. We'll get these special new skins to you post haste." Yeah. And indeed, post haste they did. A few days later, Suspect received his weapon skins,
Oh boy.
all adorned with a big old willy on them. Yup, Bulkhead's revenge on this man was whenever he reloaded any of his weapons in-game, he'd forever see a fully erect
Oh my God.
meat and 2 veg, lavishly adorned upon them. A dick for a dick. In a DM to Suspect, Bulkhead wrote, "You claimed it was a joke. I fail to see anything funny about threatening to shoot up a studio, so I thought I'd teach you a lesson about comedy." Sadly,
Yeah.
Italian 1944 was delisted from online console services in 2022, with a Legacy Edition released on Steam for free not long after. So, at least in that time, Bulkhead made sure Suspect never went half-cocked ever again, by putting a foreskin on his skin. Yeah, I'll get my coat.
Okay, never heard of that one, not at all. Shadow of Mordor versus Assassin's Creed 2, okay.
Accusations of plagiarism in a creative medium
Yeah,
are
that was
pretty
Sega.
commonplace in this day and age. But if you're going to publicly call out someone for thieving your work, you might want to do some fact-checking before making yourself look a complete fool. Case in point, Assassin's Creed 2 combat manager, Charles Randall. Now,
know nothing
Mr.
about
Randall
Assassin's
claimed that
Creed.
the open-world Lord of the Rings stab-em-up, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, was using the assets he had created for the second greatest game featuring a leaping Italian. How did Randall come up with this rather shocking revelation? He had an inside mole at Mordor's developer, Monolith,
No.
video footage of Warner Brothers
know
breaking
Monolith
into
did
his
them.
office at night and stealing his exact specific code? Or he's somehow on the elite panel of industry programmers who are entitled to see every piece of programming ever created? No, of course not. He just watched Mordor's teaser trailer.
Oh my god.
For some unbeknownst reason, Charles concluded that a game developed by a totally unrelated developer, published by a completely unrelated company, and both using bespoke game engines personally created by their respected creators, had Randall's exact same code in it. What are the
No.
chances? Well, exactly zero, as multiple people pointed out to his rather libelous accusations,
I haven't even played
ultimately
Assassin's
forcing
Creed,
him
and
to
I know
backtrack
this.
his statements, posting the ultimate in absurd.
Now, I've played one Assassin's Creed. 2 came out for free on the Xbox 360. I tried it, couldn't get into it, never touched the franchise again, and then saw how badly the franchise started doing now, so I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't get into that one.
Absurdity with he never actually accused them of stealing the code, only that they were heavily influenced.
Sure.
Anyhow, this isn't an
Every few years a new meta comes out, I noticed, for gaming, and like the best example I could use is Breath of the Wild. When that game dropped, everyone had to make an open world adventure game, and the clones and knockoffs and whatnot of them just kind of kept coming, so it's just like, all right, whatever.
episode on developers making themselves look like foolish nut jobs online, though got to make a note of that for a future topic. This is about revenge, and this one's certainly a dish best served cold.
What do they
3
do?
years later, in Shadow of Mordor's sequel, Shadow of War,
Okay.
there's a cheeky little achievement that's description is oddly specific. Shame an assassin until he becomes deranged. Absolutely brutal.
That's funny. Journey to the Savage Planet. Don't know what this one
It's
is.
amazing we've managed to come this far over the years with Fact Hunt and never once mentioned Stadia. Google's big-brained venture
Oh,
into
yeah, I
becoming the
forgot that thing even
Netflix for
existed.
games when everything else prior failed. No one wanted it. No one.
Just like I could see Luna failing too, because nobody really wants streaming games like that.
Subscribed to it, and Google looked all surprised when it bombed. Still, everyone got a pretty decent Bluetooth controller out of it for free, so I'm not
That's like a clone
complaining.
of every controller now.
Anyhow, Google did have the foresight to know that a new platform lived and died on its exclusives. And by exclusives, I mean already released on Xbox, PlayStation and PC. As in December
PC, which is the
2019,
Switch.
they acquired the small Canadian developer Typhoon Studios
And destroyed 'em.
exclusively published their already announced to be released beforehand on other systems game, Journey to the Savage Planet.
What they do?
If this wasn't dumb enough, On the 1st of February 2021, the exact same day the Stadia version of Journey to the Savage Planet was released, Google closed the entire studio.
Really?
This is stupid.
It is.
As we all know, launch day games are often rifled with bugs and glitches. So the concept of keeping the company that actually created the game around a little longer to iron out any potential issues might be a smart thing to do.
Oh my god.
But, oh no, not Google. They published a game so broken it would literally crash on the title screen. You couldn't even play
the Stadia
it.
version?
Sorry, we didn't mean fired, said Google. We meant, we're really fired up for your new game. Yeah. Come back to the office and help us finish it off, will you? There's a good sport. Unsurprisingly, the now unemployed devs of Typhoon Studio were wise and had too much dignity to fall for Google's nonsense, so politely told them where to stick it, while they created a brand new studio. Google even begged Journey's original publisher, 505 Games, to step in and help. And they were all, well, you bought the developer off us and you possess all the code. It's your problem now. So, after much scrounging, they managed to source together a skeleton crew of people they hadn't let go and got them to finally remove all the bugs in the game.
Jeez.
3 months later. Imagine having to rent a game you literally can't play for a quarter of a year. And corpos still wonder why Google Stadia failed.
Google's
So,
too out of
if
touch.
karma
A
itself
lot of
wasn't enough of
It's not just Google. A lot of these big companies are so out of touch, and all they can think of is money. And that's all they want at the end of the day is more money. And I said this on some of the other videos. I said, like, okay, games have gotten so big and bloated that we're at the point where you have the dev cycle taking so long because the game size, the game's digital size has gotten so big and massive that it's now become too big for its own good. Like they're basically, and that's why the indie games are doing so well, because they're not like 100 gig plus bloated games with unoptimized shitty engines. Looking at you, Unreal 5. Yeah, because I remember there was a thing on Twitter, and I forget what it was, but one of the game developers basically re-optimized their the Unreal 5 engine, and the game shrank from like 120 gigs down to like 40 gigs or something. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. How much crap is left over in the engine? Like, I don't know. Like, it bugs me a lot. And then, like, because everyone's just thinking, bottom line, dollar, let's hammer these games out as fast as possible. Let's not optimize anything anymore, because who cares? All these computers are powerful enough to handle it. It's just like, yes and no. You're alienating a lot of things just for a lack of performance, and you guys can go fuck yourselves, as far as I'm concerned.
revenge for what happened here, Typhoon's new studio, Raccoon Logic, managed to buy back the rights to Savage Planet from the embarrassing charred remains of Google Stadia, and 3 years later released a sequel, Revenge of the Savage Planet, which marketing campaign sneakily used the phrase, "Have you been fired by Harrison today?" A reference to Phil Harrison, the genius who headed up and ultimately screwed up Google Stadia, whom they also coincidentally named the comedically evil and moronic main antagonist of the game after too, CEO Gunther Harrison. Marvelous.
That's great. That is great. That is fucking... chef's kiss. The Getaway versus Gex. Okay, no, Sex or Gex? We'll take a C.
Now, this is such an obscure act of revenge that you'd have to be a Londoner
What's this
circa
game?
2002 to notice there are absolutely zero branches of CEX anywhere in Sony's awesome PS2 Dirichium up The Getaway. Any area
never
where
heard of
they
it.
should be, they're all abandoned properties, all boarded up. Heck, I'm from London, and even I didn't notice until it was pointed out to me. Also, it wasn't down to licensing issues this time, as with Sony removing the British Telecom bans from the game in a re-release. Oh no.
Re-release games are always weird because they always get... I don't know what it is going on, but it's just weird when re-release games happen that they just start editing shit. Saints Row 3 did it too. I know a lot of people probably didn't notice, but there's edits to that too and all that. I don't know. It kind of bugs me.
This one's far more petty. It all started out as something rather innocent. The Getaway's developer, Soho Studios, happened to be just around the corner from CEX's Tottenham Court Road branch. For those of you unfamiliar with CEX, they're kind of like GameStop, but only deal in the trading side of the business. Anyhow, being hardcore gamers, Soho Studio staff would often frequent the store looking for import video games, as CEX were more about selling titles from the US and Japan back then. One day, one of the higher-ups of Soho Studios wanders into the store and sees a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Sega Saturn on the shelves. Now, any gamer back then, and even today, will tell you copies of Panzer Dragoon Saga are like gold dust in the wild. So he's ecstatic with his discovery. Unfortunately, the poor dev realises that he forgot to bring his wallet with him, so asks the shop staff if they can hold on to it while he goes grab it. This is where the store's manager enters the story. We'll use this picture to represent him, as all CEX managers are legally required to resemble a fat Ricky Gervais for some reason. Now, said manager saw the game traded in earlier that day, and he wanted to buy it for himself. However, one of his underlings, who is also legally required to always be miserable-looking goth girls, had put it out for sale before he could nab it. So the manager's not too happy that someone has already come in and reserved it. Soho boss comes back in to pick up his holy grail, and... no. Manager steps in. Sorry, mate, we've lost the discs. Yeah. Despite the fact the Soho boss saw the goth staff member he spoke to actually put the discs in a box, ready for when he returned.
Oh my god.
So boss, not happy, tells the manager to give him a ring when they find the discs, obviously expecting him to never call over this blatant lie. So that night, the Soho boss, still seething, goes to NeoGAF's forums to complain about the CEX manager, completely laying into him about how much of a lying snake he is. By total chance, the manager is also a member of the forums and reads everything. So, being the wonderful human being that he is, comes up with an incredibly petty act of revenge.
Of course he did.
The next morning, the manager gets one of his underlings to call Boss and tell him they found the discs.
This editing is great.
So Boss not only feels guilty about how he publicly accused someone of being a liar and laying into him online, but second-guessing his own suspicions. So he deletes all his posts from the forums and sheepishly returns to the store. So when the boss returns to the shop, manager then tells him, "Oh, sorry, call from management. We're no longer allowed to sell the game anymore." Obviously no reason as to why, so the boss at the end of his leash lays into the manager, calling him every expletive under the sun, before storming out back to Soho Studios and making the announcement that, thanks to CEX and their staff screwing him around for the past few days, he's no longer going to give them any free advertising in their game, and promptly replaces the store's texture with a boarded up shop.
Oh my god.
Strangely, CEX may have noticed this act.
I didn't even put two and two together until that point in the story.
Action 2, as for years the game only sold for 1 penny, both in their store and on their websites, and only recently going up to £5 on account it's now quite a sought after game with collectors today, which is still low considering it normally goes for double that on eBay. So there you go, not a bug, not a licensing issue, not some deep artistic statement about the decline of the British High Street. Just one man, a rare Sega Saturn game, and the kind of retail pettiness so powerful. If
I recall, Panzer Dragoon Saga here at one of the used game stores went for like $300. It was nuts.
It literally...
The only game more expensive that I've ever seen someone buy is my cousin, who picked up a boxed copy of Earthbound. It was a big box.
Raise an entire shop chain from digital London. Because if there's one thing you should never do, it's lie to a video game developer with access to texture files. And that, dear viewers, is why In the Getaway,
Really?
London is gritty, violent, crime-ridden, but mercifully completely free of a CEX. Which, quite frankly, makes it the most unrealistic part of the game.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Hello, you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future.
Yeah, that was fun. I was not expecting it to go that way. I was expecting different things. Yeah, Devious X Revenge by game developers. I thought it was going to be like against people like cheaters and stuff because I remember seeing those videos. Like, it's words. 1 second. I'm processing because like the people who cheated in games and developers got back at them and stuff. I remember that being a video like The Witcher 3, The Witcher people farming whatever cows, whatever, and then the big demon thing would come after you or whatever it was. Someone in World of Warcraft. I don't know. I'd have to relook at the video because. But yeah, that was fun. Give Larry a follow if you liked it because that was dickish but also funny. Anyways, that's all for me for now. Bye.